Hi, we're talking about Your Money Matters on NDTV Profit, and my name is Alex Matthew. Well, education is the foundation for everything that you do in life, for most of us at least. And there's a big debate about it, actually, as things stand right now. And that might have just been sparked by Nikhil Kamath, who said recently that if you're 25 and if you're doing an MBA, you must be some kind of an idiot. Of course, those are his exact words. And it's fine to have an opinion about this, but it's actually sparked a big debate. The question that I'm trying to ask today is whether or not a formal postgraduate degree and possibly an MBA is the best use of your resources. Are companies out there paying as much attention to your postgraduate degree and your formal education as they did 10 years back? What are they looking for right now? If you are in the job market, what should you know? To talk about some of those aspects, I'm joined today by Sashi Kumar, who's the Managing Director of Indeed India. Sashi, thanks so much for taking the time. You have the pulse of the job market. So let me start by asking you this. How much attention do employers across the board in India pay to formal education?
Alex, thank you so much for having me here. But before I just get into answering your question, what I want to make is a distinction between education and its linking to jobs. I think that's something that we've been doing very regularly in India. But what we need to realize is that education is to acquire skills, acquire wisdom, to network, to get into structured thinking and understanding how the world works. Now, the skills that you acquire help you find a job. Now, what are companies looking whether it's today, yesterday, or sometime back? They're looking for people who can do the job which they have in their companies. Does this person possess the skills to do the job? How companies evaluated whether people had skills or not has sort of evolved over a period of time. And some of the things that seem to have taken a bit of a backseat now seem to come up in front, where people are looking more at skills rather than work experience or education. Not to say education is not important, because education, whether it's a postgraduate degree or an MBA degree, gives you valuable skills, wisdom, and knowledge of how the world works to be successful in the workplace.
And so that's absolutely true. And I don't think that Nikhil and what he was saying had to do with not studying or not educating yourself at all. I think what he was getting at is that rather than going to a college and having a predetermined course, having a curious mindset and going to a YouTube and finding something, or using artificial intelligence to source material that is so readily available for you might be better. Is there a distinction that you can draw between the two, Sashi?
Yes, it is, because a structured formal education also brings more than just knowledge that a YouTube video can. You get to interact with professors, you interact with other students, you are exposed to maybe have an ability to interact with thought leaders in the field that you're interested in, because that's what the curriculum the college brings to you. So some of those experiences are valid, but I also sort of get where Nikhil is coming from. I think the fact that there is access, if all you're looking for is just pure knowledge, pure skill acquisition, maybe we've got technologies to get to sort of get that for ourselves. But for a lot of other soft skills, networking, interaction with professors, etc., a college environment provides a good avenue.
To the earlier point that you were making about skills first, is there any data or are there any surveys that have been conducted that suggest that companies have shifted the lens through which they look at hiring?
Yes, so Indeed did a survey through which we found that about almost 80% of companies have now said that they will be looking at skills first rather than just pedigree in terms of education or in terms of companies that they've worked with. But you must remember, this is not new. Say about late 1990s, early 2000s, when BPOs entered India, and they were mostly recruiting for customer service professionals, there was no ready-made pool available. There were no colleges that actually trained people in customer service. They went to hotel management colleges mostly because they knew that people who were being trained to work in hotels had good communication skills, had a good customer first attitude. So that was essentially skills first hiring at that point in time. But over the years, people have found that if you've done a certain kind of work, that attests to the skills that you bring to the next job. But today, a lot of companies feel that that is limiting because there could be people who haven't really done that job but may have through other work or other experiences in life acquired skills that are very good for the job that they are looking to recruit for.
Okay. There's also a shift in the way that the job market has functioned, right? And we've seen over the last couple of years or 5 years that that shift has taken place. Where does it stand right now? What are employers looking for? What are the most predominant jobs that you're seeing that are getting fulfilled?
So multiple things. I think what, like I said earlier, now companies are going back and looking at the skills that are required to do a job. But we are also living in a world that is evolving fast, which means the skills that are needed are also evolving. So many companies are looking at people who have the ability to learn on the job, adaptable, people who've got soft skills, who have the ability to work well in teams. Today, we live in a world where many companies work in a flex environment. You've got distributed teams, people based in India, in Europe, in the US, people who have communication skills that can help them work together with people from other parts of the world. These are some of the things that will continue to stay, but skills have definitely evolved. And I think there is a significant increase in people looking for skill-based hiring and also looking for people with the ability to learn and ability to work well within team environments. If you were to look at specific sectors, I think IT has been a sector which has always been doing well, but we've also in India seen significant hiring in healthcare, BFSI, manufacturing, with a lot of the focus and emphasis that's going in creation of manufacturing jobs. And of course, what's underpinning it today is the ability for people to use artificial intelligence tools to help do jobs better and be more productive.
What about short courses? And there are some options available to you. I mean, distance learning is the old way of looking at it, but essentially e-learning, and you get professional certification for quite a few of these things in the sectors that you have identified as large job areas or large employers. Can you name a few of these courses or ideas that you can take to a job meeting?
So, in terms of courses and short learning, absolutely most important. Many progressive companies build it into what they offer their employees. So you would have companies that provide access to courses, which many of them, there are many, too many to name, but a lot of these companies that offer short courses, long-term courses, certifications, etc. Companies either directly with tie-up with such companies offer that to people, or through some sort of a refund of a tuition amount, also help employees learn and become more qualified to do their job better. But again, learning is something which is the onus lies on the individual. There is absolutely a lot of courses available, and I think people should learn because we live in a world that is changing faster than the world in which our parents lived in. So a one-time education followed by on-the-job learning would have worked very well in that generation. But today there is a need for us to upskill, and I think some of these short courses definitely help make people more employable.
If as a potential employer, if you would look at two candidates, one with a classical education and another with not necessarily that same classical education, but with a number of these short courses, and the signs that that person has gone into the depth of the subject that they are likely to need when they do the job, who would you be more inclined towards hiring? And I know that it's a pretty broad-based question or hypothetical question. And also with regard to compensation, Sashi, because a lot of people do an engineering, get into an MBA and do an MBA to get their foot in the door and to lift the amount of money that they would get in the first job that they get and put their foot in the door essentially.
Yeah.
Would you be able to do that without getting that MBA?
So today, as it stands, I think colleges provide that, like you said, the foot in the door, whether it's an engineering college or an MBA college, it provides that foot in the door. And for companies, it also sort of makes life easier for them. So when companies say that I'm hiring freshers, they are, based on their experience, aware of where these freshers can be found. But today, many companies are also starting to break that with the available of online tools where you can interview a larger group of people than previously when you needed to travel individually to every college to do interviews. Today, companies are saying, look, why should I limit myself to 20 colleges? If this is the skill set I'm looking for, I can try and find them by doing interviews or course or examinations online and identify the right set through which we can hire. So that's an approach. It's still not completely caught on. We still hear of companies going to campuses, but as we see, opportunities will get more broad-based as we progress. But today, yes, it's mostly campuses. Colleges play a big role in finding people their first job. To answer your first question, where you asked if I would hire somebody from a pedigreed college or somebody who's done a bunch of courses, for me, I would hire a person who has the skills that is needed to do the job. And to me, that's primary. And as a company, we've moved to evaluating people for their skills rather than for the pedigree that they bring, or which pedigree, both in terms of the kind of work experience they have or the colleges that they've gone to. But are you able to do these jobs? For us, we have markers of what helps us evaluate those skills, and that's what we focus on mostly.
And what about compensation then? Would you compensate somebody in the latter case where you say that you would favor the person who has more skills, but if they don't have a tier 1 MBA degree and they have to perform certain duties either in finance or in marketing or otherwise, and they're quite capable of doing that, would you still pay that top dollar?
So like most progressive companies, and I'm not just talking about Indeed here, but most progressive companies today for every role have a pay range which is defined and made available publicly. Objectively, what companies want to do is reward people for the skills that they bring to the table, and not necessarily for some of the other things that we spoke about, like pedigree, etc. So do you have the skills? We are transparent. This is the job. If you get the job, this is the pay range that you'll be compensated with. And like many progressive companies, Indeed also publishes our pay range for every role that we hire for.
Excellent. Okay. And I think that will be something that a lot of people will take heart from. The last point that I want to raise, and it's difficult to answer this, I will appreciate that, but I'm still going to ask you, Sashi, because you've got the pulse of the market, right? How do you anticipate the job market will change over the next 10 years? Because a lot of parents with children who are in the age group of 14 to 16 are wondering how to equip their kids with the best tools so that when they face the job market 5 years, 7 years from now, they won't find a situation where it's barren and unwelcoming.
Indeed, Alex, that's a tough question. We are living in a more uncertain world today than we were maybe say 10 or 15 years back. But there are a whole bunch of things that we can do to sort of keep ourselves prepared. But before that, regardless of how hot a subject or a skill or an area is, unless you have interest in that, you're not going to do really well, regardless of how much hours you put into it. So as a parent, I think we should get our kids to focus on their areas of interest, ensure that we get our children to be curious and open to learning and adapting fast, good communicators, and get them to be social in the sense, be able to work well in a dynamic where they need to work with multiple people. So that's what we should look to sort of ingrain in children. But like you said, skills are changing. And if you have the ability and the thought process to be able to adapt fast, you will be able to learn fast and be equipped to handle any skill that is required in the day and age that you're actually looking for the job.
Okay. So that was kind of like the answer that I was looking for, even though we can't possibly look 10 years down the line and anticipate. I would think that the way in which even my job is done is going to change quite dramatically, possibly even yours, Harshi. Yeah, so the best way to do is to stay curious. But thanks so much. I think it's been an engaging conversation, and hopefully my viewers will take something from this.